Hello and welcome. I'm Kyle, a gunner who likes talking about Arsenal and football in general. And today I just wanted to review the Arsenal versus Bilbao preseason game, the last preseason game that we had. And if you were there to watch the preview I did on the game, the first thing I said that I wanted was I wanted to see better looking football, more progressive looking football, and that is exactly what the doctor delivered in this game. And it finally made me excited after watching the last two before that, which I was really a big fan of, but this one got me excited again. And the key to our football is Zubimendi. Before we get into it, please like the video as it helps support the channel, and please subscribe if you want to see more. Now, first of all, let's start with Zubimendi, because I think Zubimendi is probably going to be our most important player going into next season, and he actually I didn't know he was going to be, honestly. Every single time that we've looked good in this preseason, Zubimendi has been starting, and he was absolutely phenomenal in that game. The way he's able to just control things, the way he is able to just, and his progressive passing, he doesn't have a right-sided bias. He's able to pass up like right and left, which is something that we desperately needed. He's able to make like breakthrough passes down the middle, and he actually created a couple chances for us. And also, the thing about Zubimendi that I loved in this game, and I saw it in the Newcastle game as well, is his physicality. It's something that I didn't actually think he would have. He's a physical player. He's able to, win the ball back, and win the 50s, and he's able to, get like recover balls back as well. And it's something I didn't think he was. I didn't watch that much of Zubimendi. I only watched him for Spain. I didn't watch him for Real Sociedad, so wasn't really too familiar with his game. So I knew he was going to be like someone who does controlling for us, but I didn't know he was going to be this physical threat. And it just makes me excited because we know that the Premier League's a physical league, and I was thinking that he's not going to be that physical, and Rice is going to have to cover for him. But that's not the case. So he is the conductor, just like his trailer said he was going to be, and he is pretty much going to be key to us seeing the progressive football that we saw. And just on the football in general, we were doing the one touch, two touch passes. We were doing long, accurate long balls, not just booting it across like we saw for the last couple of games with Raya, but actually accurate long balls. Especially, I saw a couple of really good switches of play on that left for Bukayo Saka. And now let's speak on Saka. Saka is one of the best right wingers in football, in world football. He just is. He is consistent. Anyone who is saying that he's not up to scratch is lying. He is up to scratch. He does seem like he's made a full recovery on his injury. The Saka that we saw in that game is the same Saka that we saw, before the injury and previous seasons. Nothing's changed. And what was interesting about the game is that because of Gyökeres, which I'll get into later on, Gyökeres and how fast we were moving the ball, we were able to switch the ball to him pretty, like the long balls we would switch to him. He would be isolated one on one with his defender, and he would just cook. Bukayo Saka was absolutely phenomenal in that game, and it's really glad to see that he is going to be the same old Bukayo Saka, because I was worried about the injury before, but based on the last couple of performances and what I've seen today, I think we're fine. We have our borderline to world class right winger back, and we need him. We absolutely need him. Now getting onto Victor Gyökeres, which is something that we all wanted to see. I didn't think he would actually start the game, but I'm really, really happy that he started the game and he had an actual platform to perform. In the previous game, we had Moreno, Norgard, and Waneri, which just isn't a midfield we're probably ever going to see in the upcoming season, because they're just not a trio that will play together. Today we actually had our starting midfield: Declan Rice, Zubimendi, Odegaard, and with those guys on the pitch, pardon me, with those guys on the pitch, we were able to create enough for him. And, it took a little bit for him to get into the game, but when he did, he looked absolutely phenomenal. He scored his goal. I thought he couldn't head the ball. yeah, you could take all those arguments and throw them in the bin. Start like obviously, if he plays in a team that doesn't cross the ball in, he's not going to have opportunities to head the ball. That was a striker's header. It wasn't a fluke. He knows what he's doing with his head. You know what I'm saying? And it's just we just look different with him because he preoccupies the middle of the that middle space in the middle of the pitch. He just like offenses just cannot overload on Saka like they usually do, and we move the ball so quickly that they just can't. You know what I'm saying? And what's really really nice to see is towards the very end of the second half, when Odegaard was still when he was still on the pitch with Odegaard, there was a ball that Odegaard tried to play through to him so he could go so he can run ahead. And seeing that made me think, the more we play with him is the more we're actually going to, you know, be used to playing with him, and he's just going to be able to score more goals for us because I think he just needs more game time with the team, and then we'll actually start getting used to his game. And yeah, on another player, Calafiori started on left back, and I was actually pretty happy with his performance. I personally think we should start Calafiori instead of Miles Lewis Kelly, because I do think Miles Lewis Kelly has been a little off the pace just in this preseason. I don't know if it's a fitness thing, but he's a kid. He's an 18-year-old kid. He's gonna have ups and downs, and I think Calafiori looked pretty sharp. He did give away the ball for a pretty good opportunity for them, but I think he just needs more game time. And let's face it, he's someone that we bought last year, and he needs more minutes. And yeah, I think he looks very very good progressing that ball. To be honest, he was going into that inverting into the midfield, and yeah, he's a good player on the ball. Actually, really good on the ball, and I think we should be playing him more. And I think we probably should start him against Manchester United next week. Who else? Declan Rice was looked a lot better. Typical Declan Rice performance. I actually do love the relationship that he's forming with Martin Zubimendi because they seem to be interchanging on the pitch. So sometimes I saw Martin Zubimendi having a more deeper role, and sometimes I'd see Declan Rice having a more deeper role. So they seem to be kind of forming a really really good partnership, where you actually don't know where the other's going to be, and it did look like more of a double pivot, to be honest. It didn't Martin Zubimendi didn't look like the sole six. It seemed like both Martin Zubimendi and Declan Rice would be deep at times, and they would take turns being deep or progressing the ball or whatever they were doing in there. On Martin Odegaard, he looked okay, to be honest. He started to look better. In the second half, I think. But to be honest, it's still not vintage Odegaard. I still think he needs time to get back to the paces. I was not too impressed with his performance. He did have a couple of, he created a couple of chances, a couple of things he tried to pull off that didn't really come off. He still feels a little off. And I really don't know what it is. And this is not saying that he was bad. I just hold Odegaard to a very high standard, and I think the player that plays for number 10 for Arsenal should be held to an extremely high standard. And I think he was the weakest member of the midfield, and I don't want to see that moving forward. I hope he just kind of, get out of his own head and start like performing the way we know he can perform. One thing I did notice with Odegaard is something that I'm not sure if this always was the case, but like he just never looks like he wants to score. He's never looking at goal. He's always trying to do something else. And I think if he just needs to kind of get a more of a killer instinct. We saw it at the end of the last season. He scored that beautiful goal that he whipped in, and I think he needs that. We need that Odegaard back to be kind of firing off because yeah, he was good today, but I want him to be excellent. I want the 15 GA. I mean 15 goals, 8 assists Odegaard back. Even if we get like a 12 and a 10, something along those lines. I want him to be an actual goal threat, and I want him to be a bit more sharp. And hopefully, during the season, once he doesn't get injured, he can kind of get used to playing again. Uh, who else do I want to talk about? Or Gabriel being back in the starting lineup. I think Gabriel, he is he is our best defender at the moment. I think he just makes us so secure. I think his leadership, you just feel safe with Gabriel in the team, and I'm really glad he's back. Urian Timber, he played on the right in the first half and he played on the left in the second half. I think he's going to get a lot of minutes, and I think having a versatile player like him is just extremely good. I think he's our best one-on-one defender on the wings, and I think we're probably going to use him like that throughout the season. I do think depending on where the strongest enemy winger is, I think that's where we will deploy Timber um throughout the season, and I think that's probably the best way to use him. Saliba, classic Saliba performance. I don't think I need to say much there. Ooh, on the left, Martinelli, he looked better. Yep, yep, Martinelli looked better. He, he still plays with his head down, but with the space that Eucharist was just creating more space in the middle, and Eucharist was also drifting out to that left to give him some support, and Califury was also giving him more support with his runs as well. So I think he was, he did have a little bit more to work with, and that did help him in the game. But I still think we need to move on from Martinelli. I, you know, I mean, good on him. He did help us score that assist in that transition. Also, just need to mention that Eucharist's hold up play and link up play is really good as well. He was there in the link up play for that second goal where we were dinking the ball around on transition for Saka to score. Martinelli provided that assist. Good job to Martinelli, but I still think Martinelli's decision making, shooting when he should pass, passing when he should shoot, and his inability to kind of see what's around him. I think we just need better. Um, Madueke came on. He did look better. He did look good on that left hand side. I still think we still need reinforcements there, but it's really good to see him, get some minutes in. He did almost have an assist with that ball that he put in for Gyökeres. That Gyökeres had that diving header that hit the post. He also had a looping header that Saka didn't score because let's face it, Saka just isn't good with headers. But yeah, Madueke looks good, and he does would give us another option on that left hand side that we desperately need, because I do think we're probably going to move on uh Leandro Trossard this summer. But all in all, it was a great performance. I saw attacking football, and it's something that we desperately need. I saw football where we were pushing the ball forward faster. We weren't waiting for the opposition to get settled in. I think we were defensively much more. I think after probably the 30-minute mark or the 25-minute mark, we were more defensively sound. I think we were a little bit vulnerable to the press at the start. We did make a couple of mistakes, but we kind of, once we settled into the game, we didn't give them a sniff. So we were able to keep our defensive shape and be solid defensively and have that, attacking prowess. And that's exactly what I wanted from the game. This probably could not have gone any better. I got exactly what I wanted. And before I wrap up, I need to mention Kai Havertz again. That goal that he scored was phenomenal. You know, the pace that he had to score that goal, that was a striker's goal. The strength to stay up, because I saw that run so many times for the last 2 years, and he would just fall over and just not do anything with the ball. He actually stayed up with his strength. I guess the gym is actually working for him, and he scored, bottom corner. So good job on Kai Havertz. I think if you can maintain this form, having him and Gyökeres as our striking options would be great. Yeah, so I'm much more, optimistic at the end of this game than I was for the past two other games. And yeah, yep, I guess that's all I have to say on that. So if you like the video, please like it. And if you want to see more, please subscribe. And I will see you next time.